Spooky tea, anyone? I suppose it starts with the formalities. My name is Jake, and I'm 23 years old. Recently, I finished college with a degree in mechanical engineering and an engine machinist major. After 6 months of looking for a job in my field, I was starting to get desperate. My wallet was empty, my accounts cleared out, and I was scared of asking my parents for money. Let's just say, they aren't the kindest of people. I just couldn't face staring my father in the eyes and asking him for money. He always knew exactly how to make me feel worthless. I stopped looking for cozy office jobs and started looking at everything and anything I could get my hands on. Eventually, I found a job on a cargo ship, and to my surprise, the pay was strangely good. I was to work the night shift in engine maintenance, and I was going to get paid $500 for every 8-hour shift. That's $3,000 every week. To say I was excited would have been a severe understatement. I immediately called the number, and this is the conversation that ensued.
Worldwide Shipping, how can I help you?
Hello, my name is Jake Smith, and I called about the vacant position advertised by this company. The lady's voice changed immediately.
Oh, hello, Mr. Smith. Please send your resume to the company email, and we will contact you to communicate the outcome shortly.
I sent my resume, which consisted of my college degree, my major, and my linguistic diplomas that stated my ability to speak 5 languages. I received an email that said I would get to have a Skype interview. I was asked mundane questions about my disposability to travel and my mental state. The following day, I received another email that stated the fact that I got the job. There was a PDF file attached to the email that was titled Job Requirements and Benefits. It had some instructions on what to take with me on the ship, and some more information about the medical bay, health insurance, and days of leave. I packed my stuff and went to Savannah Harbour to get picked up by the ship. When I got on board, the crew showed me around, took me to my bunk and gave me the key to my locker. After they left, I started to organise my stuff on the bed, and what I needed to put in my locker and what needed to stay in the bathroom. When I opened the locker, there were 2 crosses and a paper inside that said, Rules for the job. Rule number 1, never, ever enter the engine room between 8:11 and 8:22. You will not come out. Rule number 2, always have 2 crosses on you at all times. Rule number 3, between 9:36 and 9:42, you will hear a knocking sound from the walls of the engine room. It is imperative that you shut down the engines and close your eyes. You can open them when you hear a booming voice say, "Until later." If you hear any other voice or any other words, keep your eyes shut and don't move. Rule number 4, the engine room is the lowest on the ship. If you see a flight of stairs leading below the engines, leave the engine room immediately and hang one of the crosses on the door. Do not open that door until dawn, no matter what you hear. Rule number 5. If you see a purple container while you check the exhausts, go back to your bunk and go to sleep while praying. You will still get paid for your shift. Rule number 6. If you see a man working on the engines, do whatever he says, no matter what it is, and do not look at his face. At first, I was skeptic, thinking that this was an authentic example of sailor humour. But now, I am very happy that I stuck with the rules. I became convinced that they were real when I followed Rule 3 and saved my ass from what my co-workers say was a horrible death. All of this happened 2 months ago, and I know for sure that I will stay with this company. The pay is way too good, and I need the edge. Okay, my shift starts in 5 minutes. I will update you later and tell you some of the stories that I heard about the ship, and also tell you about my experience with the rules. See you soon. Hello again, my friends. I'm happy to be able to write again so soon. Last night I saw the purple container again, so I was able to get an early night. I just woke up and started to write this. There are so many things that I wasn't able to tell you last time, so I guess I'll start with the ship's story. During my 3rd night on the ship, I saw the purple container and did what the rules told me to do. I went back to my bunk and prayed until I fell asleep. The next morning, I managed to get lunch with the guys from the day shift, and they were quite nice. I told them what had happened during my shifts, and they told me the following story.
Mate, this ship's the SS Orang Medan. Ever heard of it?
No, sir, never. But the name of the boat is SS John Coping. He started to tell me about the Orang Medan.
The ship sent an eerie SOS signal in Morse code around June 1947, where two American vessels by the names of City of Baltimore and the Silver Star received the signal that said, "We float. All officers, including the captain, dead in chart room and on the bridge. Probably whole of crew dead." After some unintelligible Morse code, two more words came through. "I die." Those motherfuckers in suits said that the crew died due to unsecured hazardous materials. But I'll tell you what happened. The motherfuckers from CIA were transporting German tech from World War II, and there was a container, a purple one, which was said to contain different chemicals, but the crew reported strange noises from the container. The guys that were responsible with cargo security reported that the container was open and that there were pentagrams drawn in blood on the walls of the container. They also say that the ship sunk though, but we know this isn't the case.
By the time he finished the story, I was scared shitless, thinking about the rules that I'd found in my locker. But since I was still alive after encountering everything the rules had warned me about, I decided that I'd stay and work on the ship. Now that you know the ship I work on, let me tell you my encounters. The first rule is the most important, and I'll tell you why. You see, I had a co-worker for the night shift, and given that our shift starts at 8, I didn't have the time to give him the list. The poor bastard entered the engine room at 8:10 and started to check the engine mounts and fuel intake. I ran to the engine room, but I didn't get to him in time. I saw through the open door that he was with his back on the engine, searing his skin on the hot metal, and in front of him was this creature. It was 10 feet tall and had spikes from its neck to the tip of its tail. Its mouth was a mess of teeth, some protruding through its skin. Its smile was unnaturally large. The head of this thing looked like it was splitting. It looked at me with its snake-like eyes, 2 black slits engulfed in dark and red. I almost pissed myself. It snapped its head around and bit my co-worker deep into his torso, smashing his body into everything and anything it could find. I closed the door and just started crying. The only thing that broke the quietness of the night were my co-workers screaming, followed by silence. I couldn't sleep that night. I called my superior and told him what had happened. He told me to open the door and to do my job. He was an idiot. I opened the door expecting a gory mess, but to my surprise the room was normal. No blood, no flesh, and no sign of my co-worker. But the room seemed to have a lingering stench like rotting eggs left out in the sun. It was also eerily normal. That week by far was the worst of my life. I cried myself to sleep every night. The second rule is pretty self-explanatory. Just have 2 crosses with you at all times. One in case you see the stairs in the engine room. The other has an eerie reasoning. You see, there is a creepy little girl that follows you around whenever you do your shifts. She is mostly harmless, but if you don't have your crosses with you, she'll charge at you. She won't kill or hurt you, but you will fall asleep and dream the most horrific dreams about your family, your friends, your pets, and about yourself. When you wake up, you'll be on the floor in the engine room. God help you if you wake up at 8:11. On a happier note, I'm very proud to announce that I have a ghost friend. When the Orang Medan sunk, there was a dog on board, and apparently he's a ghost now. He's a very happy little fella, and besides the fact that his eyes are pure white and he radiates light, he's pretty cute. He seems to have taken a liking to me. His name is Max, and he's saved my ass already at least twice. The little girl is afraid of him, you see. I really wish all the ghosts here on the ship were like Max, but sadly I don't think that's going to be the case. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. The idiots from the day shift don't know how this engine works, and they're asking for my help. I'll catch up with you again soon. Stay safe. Hello, my friends. It's me, Jake. I have so much to tell you about this ship and its strange rules since the last time we spoke. I'll fill you in on the events that have transpired in the same order as the rules that are stated. That way, maybe you can keep a better idea of the life I live on this ship. Bearing that in mind, I'll tell you my experience with the third rule. After hearing what the guy from the day shift said about the ship and its strange past, I started to do a bit of research about the SS Orang Medan, and I've come up with a lot of information. First things first, there are anonymous reports saying that the time in which the crew died is between 9:36 and 9:42, and that the thing from the container bound their souls on the walls of the engine room. And the things that I hear are reoccurring manifestations of the duties the souls performed that day. They are now sadly trapped between the afterlife and the overworld. Like a scratched CD replaying itself until the end of time, stuck in a never-ending loop. This information was not satisfying for me, as it didn't explain the need for silence, nor why I'm not allowed to open my eyes until the voice has spoken its words. I dug deeper so I could understand what I'm facing, and this is what I found. Apparently, the never-ending cycle in which the souls are stuck can be broken by an event that didn't occur in the time of their death, such as the engine sound, me talking, or moving. The next thing on the list is the booming voice that says, "Until later." I found out that it's the voice of the demon thing from the container that is leaving the ship by a portal to hell. I didn't find an explanation for the other voices, but my best guess is that it's a rupture through the fabric of our dimension, caused by the gigantic quantity of power required to bind souls to iron and open a portal. I think iron is basically poison for demons, as it's considered a sort of holy metal. But I'm not sure. As for not being allowed to see what is producing the sound, I think the reason is to not let the demon see you. It's kind of like, if you see it, it sees you. But I'm not about to risk my life for a hunch. I found the reason for the fourth rule, but then again, I have a guess that the stairs might be a portal the demon has opened. I'm not sure as to why this event is not in sync with the knocking, and I really don't want to find out. Now that the creepy demon shit is out of the way, let me tell you about how my dear Max saved my ass for the third time. In my 10th shift, I was already accustomed to Max and started to look after my little ghost friend. Demon? Ghost demon? Friend. Every time we stopped in a harbour, I would buy some dog food and dried meat from the local markets and give him some at the beginning of every shift. Due to my actions, he started to take a liking to me too, and would watch my back while in the engine room and while I watched the exhausts. The first time he saved my ass was when I forgot to take one of my crosses again. The last time, I found out what happens without it. I usually keep the cross for my protection in my back pocket and the one for the door in my tool belt. But I guess on that day, I fell asleep in my work clothes and it somehow fell out of my pocket. Anyway, I was leaving my bunk for the shift and I didn't notice it was missing. I went out and I only realised that something was off when I got to the engine room. The air was heavier and tasted metallic, like blood. I heard a giggling behind me and I saw the little girl charging me. I screamed like a sheep. Kind of funny now that I think about it. I mean, if it wasn't for the situation, I'd definitely be embarrassed. My little friend leapt from the shadow and let out the most hideous bark. It was unlike any sound I'd ever heard before, like that of multiple voices simultaneously piercing into my eardrums. The little girl seemed to feel the same about Max's voice. She recoiled in disgust whilst hissing and ran away into the shadows. He then escorted me to my bunk, where I found my cross. The second time he saved me was when I was checking the exhausts up on deck, and I was so concentrated that I didn't realise the purple container had appeared. Max barked softly, calling my attention towards him. He turned his back to me now, pointing towards the front of the ship. Following the path of his ethereal gaze, my eyes fell straight to the purple container. I saw its door slowly opening, so I ran whilst praying. When I got to my bunk, Max settled at my feet. I struggled to fall asleep as I was still in shock. I can't deny it, my little ghost friend had saved my ass once again. from what I can imagine was an eternity trapped in a wall, scaring the living crap out of the guy that would replace me. The third time he saved my ass was yesterday when I was helping the man work on the engine, and I nearly looked at his face. A split second before seeing his face, Max tackled me to the ground, his body absorbing every photon from around my eyes, blocking my vision entirely. I remember saying something silly like, "Damn, he's fast. Good thing he's my friend," before returning to my task of giving him the eyes and fingers he had asked for. Yes, he is fixing the engine with human parts. Anyway, I gotta go. Our ship is stationed in tropical waters for the next week. The crew and I have convinced the captain that we all deserve a day to relax. In half an hour, we go to the beach to relieve some tension, and I'm going to enjoy every second of being normal, even if it's only for a day. Stay safe. I'll see you soon.
I will start with what happened at the beach. After I left the ship, I saw Max's eyes in the shadows. I didn't think much of it because my little buddy often followed me when the ship was stationed. The day at the beach was uneventful, just some sailors with beers and spliffs. The night, though, was full. After sunset, the guys went back to the ship, but I went to the bar to get wasted, which is a pretty good thing to do on such an occasion. I met a girl there, and she was absolutely stunning. Imagine every man's dream combined into a single body. Oh, and she was funny and witty and smart. We hit it off pretty quickly. After an hour or so of talking, she asked me that question. "Do you want to get out of here?" And at that time, my other head was doing most of the thinking. After walking for quite some time, we made it all the way down to the forest, and somehow I didn't realize that she started to change. Her eyes were yellow, then she had wings, and then I saw her mouth, and as soon as I realized that she had way too many teeth, I started running, but she was so fast, insanely fast. She caught up to me soon after I took off running. It tackled me to the ground, and I tried to punch it. I hit it straight in the face, but it didn't even flinch. Soon after, I registered the pain and looked at my hand. It was badly broken. My palm looked like a piece of uncooked meat, just hanging there, barely held on by the muscles. I screamed like a little girl and pushed it off with my legs. I knew I wouldn't be able to run far, but I had to try. After running for 10 meters, I looked behind me and saw that it was just an inch away from me. I blinked and it was gone. I felt compelled to stop, like I was somehow controlled. And then I started to hear two things: high-pitched shrieks and low guttural growls. After letting out a shrill, "What the fuck is going on?" my buddy Max walked out from a bush, blood dripping from his mouth that now had a lot more teeth. Then I heard multiple voices that were talking as one, but not in my ears. I heard them in my head. "Jake, I won't hurt you, but damn, you deserve it. I've never seen someone so stupid." I let out a confused, "Max?" Then the voices came again. "You know me as Max, but my name is Bral." Being a bit more confident and relaxed, I said, "Bral is a little hard to pronounce. Can I still call you Max?" "As you wish," he said. "Now put your hand in my mouth." I recoiled and let out a loud, "Oh God, no." Max seemed a bit annoyed. "Put your hand in my mouth now, Jake." I did as he asked, knowing that this was a terrible idea. He bit my hand so hard that it broke away from my forearm. I screamed in pain and staggered backward, looking down now at what I assumed to only be a stump. But I was amazed to find that my broken hand was now intact. It looked perfect. Even the scar I had from cutting my hand with a bandsaw was gone. My hand was better than new, except for a strange burn mark on the inside of my palm in the form of a flame. "What was that?" I asked Max. A sphinx? I hate those monstrosities. What did it want with me, Max? It wanted to eat you, Jake. I was spooked and kind of afraid of Max, but I started to head to the ship for a good night's rest. While walking, I asked Max, "Why do you help me?" He responded, "Because I'm lonely. Every human either hates me or fears me. You are the only one that didn't look at me with fear or hatred. For that, I'm thankful, Jake." That saddened me. But hey, life, death, it's a bitch, right? The next morning, I looked up Brel online. I am officially friends with a hellhound. I guess that's a good thing. Now that you know about my wild night, let me tell you about the fourth rule. The stairs are a portal to hell. The portal that thing from the container was using to go back home. And I guess that the rip between worlds has remained ever since. And now, it's used by other demons to come mess with us. I asked Max about it, but he said it was better for me not to know, and to just stick to the rules, and I'm not about to press my curiosity onto a hellhound. So, I guess that is how it will stay. I won't bother to explain Rule 5, as you know from the last post what it is. I have just a bit of new info about it. I asked Max about the container, and he only said, "He is my last owner, Oliver." I looked up Oliver online, and apparently he's the demon of cruelty. So someone I probably don't want to meet. I didn't ask Max any more about it, and he seemed quite sad. So I left it alone. Okay, this is all for now. I have to find out what the burn on my hand means. I think it's some kind of protection, because last night I closed the door on my hand, and the door bent backwards. So I guess that's pretty cool. But I hope it doesn't mean that I sold my soul or something. I'll post more this week after I find out what a sphinx is, and why one wanted to eat me. Take care and stay safe. We'll talk again soon.
It's me again. My week has been a long one, and I've only had about 5 hours sleep. Now, let me fill you in with what happened after I met the Sphinx. I woke up the next morning trying to understand the whole Sphinx experience, so I started with the burn mark on my palm. It turns out, it's a sort of ownership sign that basically means Max has accepted me as an owner. So I guess I'm bound to him now. I hope that's a good thing. Everywhere I go, he follows me around like a shadow. A slightly scary demonic shadow, but kinda cute. I've also found out why the Sphinx tried to eat me. Apparently, she asked me a riddle in the bar, and in my drunken haze, I didn't even attempt an answer. And those who don't answer a Sphinx's riddle get eaten. Hence why she was so eager to get out of there with me. After some research, I found out that Sphinxes have a community. There are around 50 of them per community, and they're really vengeful creatures. I talked with the only thing that could help, Max. He told me that he already got it covered, so I could relax a bit. Not gonna argue with a hellhound, so I'm just gonna relax then. Later that night, I got a new co-worker for the night shift. His name was Morris, and he was built like a tank. I'm talking 300 pounds of pure muscle. The guy was huge, he towered over me. I gave him the list, not wanting to make the same mistake I did with my first co-worker, and he said in a raspy voice,
"Oh, you found my list. Nice to see some people listen then."
I was dumbfounded. You are the guy that left me the list?
I am the one that saved your life.
We shook hands and he said in a surprised tone,
I see that you've got on Brow's good side.
The room boomed with Max's voice. Yes, indeed. How have you been, Morris? Morris responded in a tired voice.
I assisted in a Sasquatch birth and killed a Wahila. How about you, Brow?
Just helping this dumbass survive. He's annoyed the Sphinx community. Morris looked like a ghost, and I realized that whatever had made this tank of a man so scared was shortly coming for me. They must have seen me getting dizzy because Morris said,
We need to start prepping. Now.
Morris took a bag from his bunk and opened it. It was full of guns. I'm talking pistols, knives, an MP5, about 50 mags of ammo. He said that the guns and mags were loaded with silver and bronze bullets, and they were filled with a mixture of holy water, white ash, and enough ricin to kill a fucking whale. He gave me the MP5, 2 pistols, and a knife that he said was blessed by a priest, and enough ammo for a small army. I felt pretty badass for a moment, until I remembered some evil creatures were about to come and rip my head off. After gearing up, Morris gave me a little bottle of clear liquid and told me to drink it. The liquid tasted awful and burned the whole way down. He said that it was some sort of poison that would kill a sphinx, but it wouldn't harm me. After he said that, we started to hear water splashing and then bangs coming from the lower parts of the ship. Morris told me to get ready because the sphinxes had arrived. What followed next was an all-out war. The creatures jumped up on deck and started to screech before suddenly going very quiet. A scarred and old-looking one stepped in front of the group and spoke. Give us the one that didn't respond to the riddle, and we shall leave. If you don't, we shall eat you all. Morris replied in his raspy voice,
Munch on this, you old hag.
Just before shooting the thing right in the face. The creature dropped dead and started to melt in some kind of acid. I froze as Morris shot at the other creatures. But after a few shots, I regained my senses and started to shoot. Max jumped from the shadows and bit the head off of one of the creatures. He was different now. He was bigger, his eyes were blood red and he was on fire. Flames of pure radiating rage. The creatures fell one by one, but in my state, I didn't see the one that crept up behind me. It lunged at me, biting my leg. It then recoiled in pain and started to melt into a strange pool of acid. That liquid that Morris gave me did the job. My leg healed very fast due to the ownership mark. In about 45 minutes, all of the creatures were dead, and the ship looked like Swiss cheese. In our fight or flight state, we didn't realize that the purple container had appeared. And when I looked at it, I saw 2 yellow eyes. The eyes locked with mine, and I could feel it gazing into my soul. I heard Max howl, and then I heard his voice in my head. He is here. I knew who he was. It was Oliver, and he wanted me dead. I felt dread as the air around me changed. It got heavier, colder, and had a smell of rotting eggs. I could feel every molecule of Oliver was oozing with evil. He spoke in a terrible voice that made my ears start to bleed. I could feel his anger. I'd taken his dog, and the only way he would get Max back now was to kill me. A sphinx leaped at Oliver from the shadows, but it disintegrated as soon as it touched his skin. The demon just stood there smiling. I raised my gun and took a shot at him, but he disappeared along with the container. I know he's watching me now. I see his yellow eyes in the water, around every corner. I know I don't have long before I slip up, and I know he's counting on it. Take care. I think I'll see you soon.